Have you ever loved something so deeply that when it's gone, the silence and emptiness feels louder than anything you've ever experienced? Just take a breath with me for a second. My little guy, his name was Oscar, and this episode is for him. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been listening for a while, you already know this is a space where science meets lived experience and midlife is treated as an advantage, not a limitation. Today's episode is a little bit different. It's not just a conversation, it is more of a dedication to my 15-year-old pup and sidekick, my constant companion, my home. Oscar crossed the Rainbow Bridge on April 1st, and I'm grieving him in real time. And I'm sharing this not because I have it all figured out, but the exact opposite reason, because I don't. Not from a place of resolution, but from a place of honesty. Because in searching for answers this past week, I realized something pretty profound. There are millions of people walking around carrying this exact same kind of quiet heartbreak. And most of them feel like they're doing it alone. Oscar came into my life when I was 38 years old. I thought I knew everything. Los Angeles, new chapter, new life. A season of ambition and a relationship I was trying to make work, even when my gut knew a little bit better. And then there he was in his teeny tiny glory, the run of the litter, the one no one picked, the one with the slightly crooked front leg. And somehow, at that time when I didn't quite feel chosen myself, he chose me. We didn't just live life together. We weren't just sharing space. Gosh, looking back, we pretty much grew up together through career changes and pivots, relationships that worked and some didn't, cross country moves, graduate school in my 40s, long hospital nights, pandemic work in hospitals and media, moments of joy and moments I didn't really know how I was going to get through, to be honest. He was there. He saw it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here's the thing. Pets don't just live with us. They fully witness us. And that is why this loss feels the way that it does. Let's zoom out for a second because I found a lot of research that I thought might be helpful. And this isn't just personal, it's global. According to the Health for Animals Global Pet Report, there are over a billion pets worldwide. More than half of households across the world have one. And in the United States alone, nearly 70% of households have a pet, which means tonight there is a very good possibility millions of people are going to sleep missing someone who used to be right beside them. So when we talk about grief, here's the part that hits a little bit different. 97% of pet owners consider their pets family. We're not talking about losing, quote, an animal, end quote. We are talking about losing a loved one. And this is where the science matters. Because if this feels overwhelming, disorienting, and quite physical, there is a reason. Research shows when we bond with our pets, the brain processes pet loss in the same regions of the body as human loss. First, having, loving, and bonding with a pet, it triggers the release of oxytocin. You may be familiar with oxytocin. This is the same hormone as parent child bonding, the same hormone involved in human attachment, the love hormone. We build deep neural pathways tied to safety, comfort, and regulation. And when they're gone, when a pet passes, the brain experiences a withdrawal state from that bond. Basically, your brain is going through a biological withdrawal from love. And that's why you feel disoriented. You reach for them out of habit. You wake up expecting them to be there. The mornings, that time when you're just first opening your eyes, that split second before that good dose of reality hits, that's not weakness. That's neurobiology, your brain trying to calibrate after love and the loss of it. Another insight, there is something uniquely painful about losing a pet, and the research calls it disenfranchised grief. I never heard that term until I started looking for some answers for myself. And what this means is society doesn't fully recognize it. No bereavement leave, no formal time off from work, no clear rituals, no roadmap, no structured support. Really, the only people who understand what you're going through are other people with pets and animals who they treat as family. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I had to deal with this with work, and you may have as well. And yet, the pain, well, it's just as real, and sometimes it's even a little bit deeper. Studies show that for many people, losing a pet creates grief responses equal to, or sometimes even greater than losing a human loved one. Over 20% of people say losing a pet was more emotionally distressing. And why is this? Because pets offer something rare and something that human beings don't. It's this unconditional presence without complication. No ego, there's no conflict, there's no emotional complexity, no expectations, just pure love. And now let's layer age in a bit and talk about you and me and midlife. Because in this stage of life, as we get a little bit older, loss hits different. It's, already a season full of transition where, identity shifts, career recalibration, family changes, caregiving, reevaluation, and pets in the middle of all of that, well, they become something incredibly stabilizing. Many times, the most stable relationship in this season. They are rhythm, they are routine, they are a grounding, constant presence in our life. So when they're gone, it's not just loss, it is a collapse of emotional structure. It is a disruption of your entire daily structure and routine. Next, this is the part that no one or nothing can prepare us for, the decisions. That big decision, that moment, the responsibility, the weight of it, the heaviness of it. I held Oscar as he took his last breath. And even as a healthcare professional of 3 decades, more actually, including my training, understanding physiology, understanding suffering in humans, it was so difficult to interpret what suffering looks like in an animal. Why? Well, they're born to instinctually hide pain to protect themselves. This was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. In some ways, I felt like I pulled the trigger. And that guilt, it's documented. It's well documented because unlike human loss, we make the call. But here's the truth. Love made that decision, not harm. Oscar was so kind. Gosh, he was such a gentle dog. He was so good with kids. He was so good with elderly people. He was good with everybody. Even when he was a puppy, he was just a happy-go-lucky little soul. Not one act of aggression his entire little life. I don't even think he barked actually until he was almost a year old. And I remember that. I thought, oh my gosh, is my dog mute? But then when it came time to stick up for himself, he showed up when it mattered. So the thought of him suffering and not showing it, it was agonizing and confusing because maybe like you, my mind started looping over and over. What if I did more? Should I bring him home? Here I was, a perfectly sane woman who makes quick, critical decisions for other people every single day. But instead, I just sat there, lost, depleted, staring at the vet and the animal hospital staff, just helplessly, just feeling helpless, and hoping anyone would have the magic answer for me. And the vet, he just looked at me and said, you know what to do. You can wait, but are you doing it for him or are you doing it for you? Of course, I wanted him home in his bed one more night in what felt familiar to him. So he was comfortable. But I was grappling with the thought, was that actually in his best interest, knowing what was going on with his little body? And in that moment, I looked into his tired little eyes and I trusted something deeper than logic. That at the end, what he needed was the same thing he needed at the very beginning. Me. I'm going to sit here for a second because you might be feeling this too. If you've ever had to make that decision, or you are making that decision, you know exactly what I mean. Those final moments, they don't just pass, they replay over and over and over again. And I'm learning and grieving in real time, but my heart hasn't caught up with my brain yet. And maybe it's not supposed to right away. Because when something keeps replaying like that, when your body feels it, like really deeply feels it, not just your thoughts, it's not just your memory. That's your nervous system trying to process something deeply profound. And this is where understanding the science can actually bring a small amount of grounding to something that feels completely ungrounded. So let's pause for a moment with something I call news you can use. There's a medical condition called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, also known as broken heart syndrome. It's well documented and it's also published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And it's triggered by intense emotional stress, including loss of any kind, even the loss of a pet. Symptoms can mimic a heart attack, chest pain, shortness of breath, irregular heart rhythms, like you feel like your heart's beating fast, almost like you're having a panic attack. And it's most commonly seen in women over 40. So why does this matter? Because if you feel physically off right now, that tightness in your chest, that heaviness, that exhaustion, anxiety, this is not in your head. Grief is not just emotional, it is physiological. Your body is processing loss in a very real, very measurable way. You are not imagining it. And this is where it shifts from understanding to feeling. Reflection is proven to be therapeutic for some people. Ask yourself, what did this animal represent in my life? Where did I feel safest and most joyful with them? What part of me feels like it left with them? What am I holding on to right now that is causing more pain than love? And this one, what would you say to them if they could hear you right now? The last 2 months, I noticed subtle changes in my dog. Here's the thing. Oscar has always been a picky eater, a hustler to achieve a diet of home cooked steak and salmon. He had a joyful and youthful puppy like spirit. I'm just sitting here thinking the way he pranced, the way he hustled me, the way he held out. He would go on a hunger strike to get what he wanted. When we moved back from Southern California, an East Coast vet actually commented, "Wow, Oscar looks good for his age." And I'm like, who says that about a dog? Even my mom was like, who says that? And of course, I attribute it to our healthy Manhattan Beach, California lifestyle. But his last few days, well, he wasn't himself. Less appetite, more fatigue, a little more sleep, and noticeably a little more shaky. that quiet look in his eyes. Deep down, I knew I didn't have much time. He didn't have much time, and he was slowly slipping away. And then an emergency vet visit, which prompted tests, tweaking his diet, working in supplements. Mind you, for 15 years, he was never sick, never sick, never on a medication. However, that quickly fast forwarded to IV fluids, the ER, more tests and scans. I did everything the doctor suggested, all within reason for his quality of life. Anything that I thought would help him and make him comfortable, some hope, and then a real solid dose of reality. Those last hours, the labs weren't improving, the fluids weren't working. Despite it all, his little kidneys were failing. Everything around us slowed down. Because part of why this hurts so much is because when you love a pet, you don't just love them. You're responsible for them. That loving them means one day you may have to decide when their life ends. For 15 years, I built my life around him. And suddenly, as a clinician, I understood. As his person, as his human, I wanted more time. But I knew I had no choice. I had to think about what life would look like without him. It felt like life was asking me to give more than I really had left. It was just us, just like the beginning. I wrapped him in his little puppy blanket, placed my rosary across his little body, and I held him and I cried as he took his last breath. I came home to his bowls, his bed, his space. It's been an undescribable loss. And for you, if you're walking into a quiet space right now, expecting them to be there, you are not crazy. If you are sitting in this right now, the way I am, I want to give you somewhere to begin. This is not to fix anything, because right now, nothing's going to fix the way you feel. Because this isn't something that we fix, but something we learn to carry, just with a little more steadiness. First, awareness and acceptance. Just let it be real. Start by naming it gently, honestly, without judgment. This is grief. This is love with nowhere to go right now, because your body already knows this isn't just sadness. This is neurological, it is emotional, this is routine disruption, identity disruption, love disruption. And the more you try to push it away, the louder it's going to get. So instead, just let it be real. Feel the feels, let the tears come, let the waves come. You are not losing control. You are responding to love and the loss of it. Second, adjustment. Grief doesn't just live in your heart, it lives in your day, in the moments where they used to be. And I think you'll agree this is where it hits the most. Their empty bowl, your now quiet walk, the empty space on the bed, their empty bed. So instead of trying to move on, create one small anchor inside your day, something simple, something repeatable. Maybe it looks something like stepping outside for a few minutes of fresh air, sitting in stillness with your coffee, holding their collar, their blanket, something that carries their imprint. You're not holding on to them or something of theirs to hold on to the past, but to bridge a space between what was and what is now, because routine is how the nervous system begins to feel safe again. I know for me, I used to rush home to see him because I left early in the morning for work. And so I wanted nothing more than to get home. And I now need to change that, restructure that. Maybe stop, get a cup of coffee, reassess my workouts, because literally everything was built around him. And I feel that void. And it feels really, really empty. And I'm sharing this because you might be going through the same thing. Third, alignment. Give the love somewhere to go. This is the part no one really explains, and I'm really still trying to figure it out. We know that love doesn't go away. it stays. We can feel it. It just lives on in our memory, but it's also looking for somewhere to land. So instead of shutting it down, redirect it. Speak to them out loud or quietly to yourself. Trust that they can hear you. Tell them what you didn't get to say or what you say every day in your heart. Honor them. You can do this through a memory, a photo, a story, a small ritual. Remember them intentionally, not just in the moments of loss, but in the fullness of their life, the happy times. I've been trying to do that. Think of all the happy times. And you know what? It's been ending in tears, the happy times. And I know that one day I'm going to be able to think of him and I won't cry. I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm okay with that. Just being patient with myself because this is the shift. Love doesn't disappear, it changes form. And in many ways, this is where the relationship continues, just differently. So it's a beautiful thing. I know Oscar is always going to be in my heart. Of course, I selfishly wish he was here with me, but he does live within me. And just like your pet lives within you, you're not being asked to let go of love. You're learning how to carry it in a new way. You didn't just lose a pet, you lost a rhythm, a witness, a piece of your everyday life. And if you're really honest, it may have stirred something even deeper, a quiet awareness of time passing, of life changing, of your own mortality. Because when we walk something we love all the way to the end, we can't help but wonder, where am I in my life right now? Like maybe even how much time do I really have? And I want to say this clearly. Just because you are aware of time doesn't mean your life is almost over. It means you are now awake to it. I mean, life teaches you this. You can be deeply grateful and completely heartbroken at the same time. You can feel the weight of loss and the awareness of your own life without it meaning something is ending. Sometimes it's actually the beginning of paying closer attention, of living more intentionally, loving more fully while you're still here. Losing them, it doesn't mean your life is closing in. In many ways, it's an invitation to actually step more fully into it. I've been searching and reading and trying to understand YouTube videos and articles and podcasts. And then a few nights ago, I had a dream. A large blue butterfly, like it was flying directly towards me, like fluttering in my face. Honestly, this butterfly was big as my head. No exaggeration. I didn't question it. It felt so real, so vivid. My body reacted enough to wake me up. Now, was that neuroscience processing grief? Was it memory consolidation? Or was it something else? I don't have the answers. I have no idea. But I'm starting to trust that not everything meaningful can be explained. And for the first time in over a week, I felt just a smidge of peace. Once upon a time, I thought love meant holding on really, really tight. And suddenly I realized love sometimes asks us to loosen our grip and let go. Fortunately, we begin to understand that grief is not the end of love, it's the continuation of it. And as it turns out, the depth of grief is the evidence of a life fully loved. Bottom line, some loves don't ever leave, they just change where they live. And Oscar, Pops, if you can feel this, buddy, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for choosing me. If you're thinking of someone right now, someone who might be hurting, someone who could use a little encouragement, someone who's grieving, someone who's dealing with loss, send this to them just to let them know they're not alone in it either. From New York City, I'm Rosemarie. This is Second Opinion, where curiosity is the real fountain of youth and age is always your advantage. Until next time.